I didn't know that I had a choice in becoming a lawyer. My father would bring us downtown every Sunday to rotate files, and that was a big occasion for us. Then we'd ride down to the levee. That was a big occasion for us, and then we'd go home. And then my first summer job was in his law office after I sold newspapers. And I was a receptionist when people said yes ma'am to me on the phone, and I knew I had to stick with it long enough to get over that. I was with an excellent firm, but I had thought that my practice, my relationships, my clients would serve me best if I moved to Bryan Cave, because Bryan Cave, out of St. Louis, had established a Washington presence, a Los Angeles presence, and was well on its way to a London presence, a New York presence, and elsewhere. I thought that that was the type of informed perspective that I wanted to bring to my clients in St. Louis.
Walter's an incredible strategic thinker and has amazing vision.
I've lived here longer than most people, and I know the opportunity, and I can see how people really have interests in common. I think that Grand Center is still dealing with its fundamental confusion surrounding it. Is it a real estate development, or is it a cultural and arts community which happens to have real estate around it?
Walter worked very closely with Vince Shamel, got Vince Shamel, who was then the mayor of the city, to back Grand Center, got Richard Gaddis to be the first director, and really supported it. And once Grand Center really got on his feet, Walter backed away.
The staying power of Grand Center, and that the fundamental assets that are there structurally and culturally, it will be successful. And then there's been the additions of the Pulitzer Foundation, and I'm proud of my participation, our firm's participation in developing that extraordinary building.
When the designs for the building were first produced, he said, well, as long as you're excavating partially a lower floor, excavate the whole thing, because you can't go back and do it later. And of course, we have filled every square inch.
Tadao Ando and I saw eye to eye on having a basement. And I think as a Pritzker Prize winning architect and I should have more conversations.
Another thing that Walter has done for the Pulitzer Foundation for the Arts is, from the very early days, he pushed us to put energy and money and thought and time into our website.
It was easy to give web advice on the Pulitzer board because it didn't take much to be the leader of the web. No disrespect to my fellows on that board.
He has been very instrumental in the Plant Science Center from the early days. Monsanto is one of our partners, along with Washington University, Missouri Botanical Garden, University of Missouri, University of Illinois. And I've always viewed our center as part of a region-wide effort to do plant science.
We all just knew, look at these assets we have in the plant and life sciences and the commercial interests we have here. It's all there.
I don't think we would be as far along as we are without Walter.
It started when Harry Ornest came to St. Louis, and the Civic Progress companies and others got together to help Harry install himself appropriately, buying the arena from the family that had the arena before, taking out Ralston Purina, and of course Harry was a bit of a character himself, so not one to stop wanting things for himself and for his family. Things got a little out of hand, so again represented the group in taking over the blues franchise from Harry, and then building Kiel Center and moving the blues to Kiel Center so that we had that anchor in downtown St. Louis. And that morphed at about the same time into the desire of the region to get back into the NFL, where it belongs. That was a complicated area to put together a stadium plan and to go after an expansion team. Ultimately that failed, but the Rams did come to St. Louis, and we still have a great relationship with the Blues. My first summer job was at Broadway and Olive. My first job out of law school was at Broadway and Olive. I'm still sitting at Broadway and Olive, looking at the Arch out my window every day, and it's just time that we do it.
The project we're working on here at the Arch today is to really reinvigorate the park. It was laid out almost 50 years ago, and a lot of things just weren't thought through properly. And of course we had the interstates come along, and things could be so much nicer here if we'd finished the project. And Walter Metcalfe has stepped up and taken the lead in this undertaking. We wouldn't be anywhere as far along as we are today without Walter's great leadership.
I was there for the topping out on October 28, 1965, and I plan to be here on October 28, 2015, when we connect with downtown and we connect with the river and across the river.
Walter, to me, strikes me as somebody who's been an able, articulate advocate, working behind the scenes, representing people.
Seeing the different proposals was eye-opening to me, because I had thought in briefing the design teams, myself, Tom Bradley, our great superintendent, the technical advisory group, and everybody else, we thought we told them such a simple, straightforward story, but their interpretations were really interesting, how they saw taking the 10 design goals that we gave them and applying them to the Arch. I think the jury made the right choice.
Walter has been showcasing St. Louis throughout this project. He takes great pleasure in showing all the great treasures. He loves so many of our places here.
We gave the design teams a tour of Forest Park, of the Missouri Botanical Garden, of the East Side. They know where Cahokia Mounds is. They know where the Great Rivers Museum is in Alton now. They know where all these pieces are, and they say, why don't you all bring these together? This is really phenomenal, and that's part of what we will do with the Arch.
Walter has a extremely wry, sometimes sarcastic, biting sense of humor, very perceptive.
One never knows when that wry sense of humor is going to come out, and it's always a wonderful challenge and delight.
My most embarrassing moment with Civic Progress was my first moment with Civic Progress, when I walked into the room and I sat where a Civic Progress member is supposed to sit. I was a mere advisor, and I was quite well reminded of that.
Walter's great passion is St. Louis.
He understands the law, of course. He understands St. Louis and how it works. But more important, I think, he really cares about St. Louis.
He loves this city. He loves this region. Again, this is sort of his time in history to do something great.
As the video noted, when it comes to going to bat for St. Louis, Walter Metcalfe and his fellow RCGA Right Arm of St. Louis Award past recipients are in a class by themselves. And now I'd like to invite Walter, Tom Voss, Dick Fleming, Bob Reynolds to join us here on stage for the award presentation.
To the county executives. Blessed I missed that. Actually, we have right now in the Arch one of our greatest shots because of the constellation of people who are at this, and two of them are right here, Steve and Charlie. The county executives, it's not in their district. This is not a downtown project. This is the whole region. We thank you for everything you've done. Francis Slay's been terrific. Mark Kern is there, and Alan Dunstan is, and Congressman Aiken, we'll be seeing you. It's said that the past is never dead. It's not even past. Is it possible that the author of this quote was talking about us? Was he talking about St. Louis? You might think so. After all, St. Louis is a place where the natives are famous for the question, where did you go to high school? That's the inward side of the prototypical St. Louis there's also the outward side. We've been the jumping-off place in the building of our nation and in the advancement of human knowledge, discovery for generations. That began with Lewis and Clark, the westward migration. It did not stop there. Remember, it was a group of St. Louis civic leaders who had the courage, foresight to sponsor a young airmail pilot from St. Louis, Charles Lindbergh, on his flight to Paris. And it was McDonnell Aircraft that put the first American astronauts in the air in the Mercury and Gemini flights. And the journey of discovery now continues, thanks to the presence of top-of-the-line universities, medical schools, life and plant science institutions, and a great mix of businesses and firms that have shown that they can compete and can win on the world stage now. And Scott Air Force Base covers the globe every day. Perhaps we spend too much time obsessing over past achievements, such as the World's Fair in '04. We go back to the distant golden ages, but we get to a woe is me attitude. Our best days are behind us. In reality, we do not compete in any meaningful way with St. Louis of 25, 100, or 125 years ago. But we do compete with other urban centers in attracting, retaining, and most important, originating jobs and businesses. No one knows better than the members of the RCGA. And in competing with others, it's important to build upon the work of those who have gone before us in making sure that the glories of our city, such as Forest Park, Downtown Library, Peabody Opera House, will be all the brighter in years to come. And they will. We have a whole series of ongoing projects to improve and expand those and other great institutions. In St. Louis today, we have a remarkable and accessible collection of cultural assets, which includes a wide assortment of jewels in the visual and performing arts. We also have a great sports franchises that reflect a long and successful history of commerce and industry. Few cities compare. So this brings me to the Gateway Arch. As I see it, the Arch is not just a symbol of westward migration. That's too narrow. And it's more than a photograph, even a photo that says St. Louis to most people, and that never fails to make us look quite glamorous. In a larger sense, the Arch symbolizes the forces of opportunity, discovery, courage, and optimism that have created and sustained our nation for more than 200 years. These are the strengths from our deep past that should guide St. Louis now and inspire our future endeavors. For too long, though, the Arch and the Arch grounds have been stranded on their own island. You see the Arch in millions of photographs, and you see it when you fly in. Nevertheless, because of I-70, Memorial Drive, and other physical barriers, it's cut off from easy flow of pedestrian and bicycle traffic and from the river, and Illinois is not joined to it as Saarinen thought it should be. That's going to change as a result of a series of projects that will be completed on October 28th, 2015, and I will be back for the Right Arm Award again. That will be in time for the 50th anniversary of when the Arch Keystone was loaded into place. And for the first time, the Arch will be inviting, easy to get to. Our signature monument will draw people to the water's edge, let them enjoy activities on the grounds, marvel at the role that rivers and rail play in the continuing development of our city, not just the past, and our region and nation. This is a great moment to show how the region can build its past into a bright future, not just looking back at it as a past. So, I'm a lifelong resident. There's no place I'd rather be. I've had the great pleasure of working for many years for one firm, Bryan Cave, that has come to span the globe, but still has its deepest roots right here in St. Louis. Its office downtown overlooking the Mississippi River, and a lively tradition of investment of time, energy, and capital into our community. And I've had the privilege in knowing and working with many of you in this room. So even if I'm not Sam Bradford, or Adam Rainwright, or any of the real St. Louis right arms, I am happy to receive the right arm of St. Louis, and I thank the RCGA for it. The RCGA stands for the idea that the city as a whole is east and west of the rivers. It's all its counties, it's all its towns, it's all its villages, and it should work together effectively for the good of the entire region. It's another instance in which we are sometimes too parochial, too inward-looking in our behavior. The world knows that we are one, even if we don't. So since I began these remarks by quoting William Faulkner about the past, I will close with a forward-looking statement of my own. In thinking about today's St. Louis, I think it's fair to say the future is not off in the distance. It has already begun, and it is looking better than ever. Thank you. Thank you. One last word. One last word. Next Wednesday night, it will be beautiful and clear and warm. January 26th, you can be in the Ferrara Theater of the Convention Center to see a report to the community with Michael Van Valkenburg and the design concept as it has matured, and even things like the price of the project. Be there.